Welcome. I would like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting for the town of Haymarket for this evening, Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Baker, Gonzalez,
Present.
Young,
Present.
Kress. Mr. Baker and Mr. Kress are joining us by Zoom from their work.
Thank you. Now please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is the oath of office for a new Planning Commission member.
I'd like to call Mr.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing. And for those who have looked at our bylaws, which do state normally how we would run it, we will be running with the same information today, just maybe in a slightly different order. But again, all the proper information and details will be covered. And I'll turn it over to Emily.
Thank you. So a little housekeeping for everyone who's here tonight who hasn't joined us before for a public hearing. We're first going to hear from the applicant. So the applicant and the representatives are going to come up and give a brief presentation. That'll be about 10 to 20 minutes. Following that, you'll hear from the town staff, and then it'll be time for the citizens to comment. If you've not already done so and you wish to speak, please sign in on the back sheet. We'll bring that up to the chair. He'll call you up in the order you've signed in. You can also choose to speak at the end of the time after everybody who's already signed up has spoken. So that's how it's going to run this evening. And then after everyone's given comments, the applicant will be given a short brief time to come back up and start addressing some of those comments or answering some of the concerns. A friendly reminder during this, again, if you haven't been to one of our public hearings before, the commissioners are not going to be responding when you give comments, okay? So you're going to ask questions, you can share your concerns. The commissioners will discuss that during the agenda portion or at a later meeting. So it is not customary to respond directly to you while you're standing up here, okay?
So I'm going to read the public notice into the record. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the Town of Haymarket will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Haymarket Town Hall located at 15000 Washington Street, Suite 100, Haymarket, Virginia, to consider a rezoning application for 14600 Washington Street. The rezoning application is a proposed rezoning for 14600 Washington Street from B1 to R2. It's available at the town's website and for review at the town hall. All meetings are open to the public. The town of Haymarket does not discriminate on the basis of disability or admission to or access to its programs or activities. Anyone wishing to make a comment can do so at the podium. And will be allotted 5 minutes.
Okay, at this time, the applicant can come up and we will pull up your presentation. And just push the button on the mic. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, planning commissioners, for being here and allowing us some time to present this project. My name's Kirk Johnson, and this is Siobhan Dosky, my business partner. We're Greystone Companies. We're the contract purchaser of this property. And Siobhan lives here in Haymarket. I'm down in southwestern Virginia. And we've done some development down in Blacksburg, where I live, at Virginia Tech. We actually met in college at Virginia Tech and formed our business in 2007 with a project down there, and have worked in real estate development since that time. As I mentioned, Siobhan lives here, and he's going to talk about the site that we're our project.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Emily, and thank you, Planning Commission, for having us here. As Kirk mentioned, I live in Haymarket. I live off 15, not in the town of Haymarket, but I live off of 15 behind Pevs. I first moved here in 1999, and this is how town of Haymarket looked in 1999, for those of you who can view it. And back then, between where I lived, which is, almost at 50, a little bit before then, and 66, there were no traffic lights. There was only one flashing light at the firehouse, which is actually still there. There were no grocery stores, no Dominion Valley, no Piedmont. We drove to Manassas for groceries. And like many of you that have lived here for a while, there's been a lot of changes in the area. Some of them are good. There are grocery stores now locally, and we don't have to drive to Manassas. And some not so good, like there's a lot more traffic than there used to be. In fact, just driving here, it took 25 minutes from my house. It used to take probably 10, 12 minutes. Just wanted to mention, we're not the property owner, just to clarify. We're not the property owner. We are the contract. We have a contract on the property, and are the ones applying for the rezoning with the support of the property owner.
This is a photograph of one of the projects we developed in Blacksburg called University Crossroads. And it may have been the main reason that the property owner contacted us about this property. Siobhan has a mutual friend that's a friend of the property owner, and he kind of connected us, knew that we did development, and we had done this larger commercial development. And so we got connected, and we started looking at the property, and even though we had done a lot of commercial, we thought, this isn't the right spot for commercial. Just the access, the traffic that's already here, kind of being not in the middle of town, but on the edge of town, but not close to the to I-66.
I'm going to add real quick.
Yeah.
Just want to mention. So this project, if you look at it, there's only residential on one side. Everything else is commercial. So, those are wide roads, lots of traffic already in both directions on that corner. It was a lot more suited for the two hotels there and the retail. And like Kirk was saying, when we looked at it, this is basically bordered on four sides with residential, and commercial just didn't make a lot of sense for us.
So yeah, we thought it'd be too challenging to try and do all commercial here. But we wanted to find a solution, and we started working on the project that we're about to show you. I wanted to just caveat, this photograph is not to create any fear, because we have no intention of doing something like this. But it is to explain, our background and what we've done there, and probably why the property owner reached out to us to begin with.
And also to add that, having done this, and other ones, we fully understand the traffic implications of commercial versus residential. You know, to give you an idea, if that had been developed the way we're looking at this, it would be about 1/6 to 1/8 the traffic that create, well, even more, because this was actually higher density because it's got 2 hotels on it. 2 6-story hotels, which would not be allowed anywhere in town, you know, on this site. So, you know, as I mentioned, I live here. I certainly understand traffic is already an issue. Probably not to the same degree that the people that live in town understand it. But I've lived here 27 years. I've seen massive changes, so I fully understand it's challenging. I also understand that most residents would rather keep the grass areas that are part of this property. They look great, and you know, I think that's, most people would like to keep that rather than adding anything out there and adding more traffic. But at the end of the day, the owner, the group that owns that property is going to sell it. And they're not as concerned about what will be developed, just that they've got a certain amount of money they're looking to get. And as long as they get that, they're satisfied with it. The property is currently zoned B1. So it can be developed as commercial by just submitting a site plan. And as long as it conforms to all the town code, there's no approval process that it needs to go through other than that. Well, the site plan approval process, no rezoning approval. We've submitted this rezoning application that we're presenting today in an effort to find a win-win, one that reduces the impact that the commercial development would bring. We realize people aren't looking to increase traffic. I'm included in one of those people. As can be seen here there's a table here that's showing what the traffic is from the proposed development versus just a medium density development, which is about 8 times the traffic. And this is not a 6-story, this is a 1-story retail development inside the property that will fit, which is really just medium density. It's not, you know, it's not a off the charts trying to develop kind of development. Also, residential development is going to help support the commercial that's there and some of the other commercial that's already in town, rather than competing with it.
So we started this process back in April of last year in 2025, almost a year ago. And we started by soliciting feedback from the town, from VDOT, and from residents. And we came up with these 2 potential concepts. As we mentioned, preserving the existing schoolhouse and the historic Lewis House that was moved to the property were 2 of the top things that were concerns that were voiced in town. And so we made those priorities in the development plan.
Hold on one second.
Mhm.
I don't know if everybody can see it. Do you want me to try to point some of this out?
Yes.
As he speaks to it? Okay. So if you don't mind, oh, should I do it here? Is that okay? Right. I'll do it there. You go ahead and speak here, and
Okay.
I'll try to point to it as you do it.
Okay,
So
so.
go back to the one you were just talking
Yeah,
So the school,
preserving the school building.
I won't point to that one.
Yeah, I don't think it'll work with the TV.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. So the school building is there. And, you know, the feedback was to preserve that building. Only the back portion here is what's being taken down. Well, you go ahead.
And the
I'm
Lewis,
kinda cutting you off here.
the Lewis House.
And the Lewis House, which in this plan was there or is currently here, was relocated here. And these are 2 different plans, but it's in the same spot.
And really the difference between the 2 plans is, one is called the parallel, which we made the townhouses parallel to Blight, and the other is perpendicular, where the townhomes are perpendicular to the
Here,
street.
I can do it like this. So here, those are, the sticks themselves are parallel to this, and these are perpendicular. And we were just trying to solicit feedback. What was the preference? Because for people living over here, what would they prefer to see through? You know, would they prefer this or would they prefer that? And that was the feedback we were trying to solicit, besides everything else. But that was one of the things we were trying to get. And parallel is what was picked, as predominantly by most people was parallel.
And we looked at internal and external vehicular access and pedestrian circulation.
So this is the existing one-way out. This is the one-way in. And there was a lot of comments about being able to create better flow for traffic and, you know, have it circulate better. And some of the feedback, by the way, came from VDOT. And VDOT's comment was, and theirs is less suggestion and more demand, which is you can't keep this anymore. So that was one of their comments was, you're not gonna be able to have this exit anymore because it's right next to this exit, which is a bit, a little bit dangerous. So they want that exit closed.
So that would necessitate a
Sorry.
two-way entrance, the main entrance.
Maybe you should point to that one while I point.
And
So, well, we'll show that on the next one.
Yeah.
We'll show it on the next
All
one.
right. Anyway, those are all considerations. Density was another one, and open space. One of the things with the existing zoning, under the B1 zoning, that allows 85% lot coverage, whereas the R2 zoning only allows 30% lot coverage. So as you can see, there's a lot of green space on this plan or on these plans. And that is mainly in the R2, the rezoned section of the plan.
Okay,
Next one.
we're gonna switch up here. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna point to this one with the laser and you can point to
Okay.
that as I speak.
All
to
right.
it. Okay, so this is the submitted plan. And we tried to incorporate the comments into this plan. I do want to mention that, given that this site is very flat, we are we're speaking with the town right now about, right now the code is 2.5 stories and 35 feet. And we're working with the town to make it 3 stories since it's a very flat site. There's no walkout capability. And closer to about 39 feet, which would be very similar to Crossroads Village. We submitted this plan in early October. And here are the things that were incorporated from the feedback we got. Preserving the historic portion. So preserving the historic portion of the site. So this building is being preserved. There was a portion back here that's been taken down, but that's the newest part of the building. It was built in the 60s. And we will be investing in this property to improve the overall condition of the building, and the lot around it. We're going to preserve the Lewis home, which has been relocated from there to here. And it will be repurposed as a community center for the residential here. As I mentioned, the townhouse orientation is, the parallel one to Blake.
So these homes will be facing like.
And we increased the open space here. We reduced density from 62 units to 58. We added extensive internal sidewalks. We closed that entrance we mentioned over here. We made this entrance 2-way. If you look, you can see there's sidewalks all along here and all along Washington Street, along Blight, but kind of interior of the property, but it will be public. And you can just see there's great circulation now inside the property. That was one of the concerns, was just vehicular and pedestrian safety, was just better circulation from where it's at right now. We added a Washington Street turn lane, so you can turn right into the property. And we have added a pedestrian path through this. I say that meaning in the future, as part of this plan, we would have a pedestrian path through here so that people that are parking, you have access to the parking that's a lot more flexible for everybody, all the tenants here. And this project, if you look at it compared to like, if this were all commercial, is much more in line with all these townhouses, these townhouses, these townhouses, and these single-family homes than a commercial a dense commercial development would be. The current tenants here are very important to us and important to the community. We plan to own the commercial part of this project long-term. And we are working with the 2 affected tenants to relocate them into the existing building. So the 2 are Cookies and Cream, and we believe we have a spot for them right in here. And the other is the Italia Dance Studio, which we believe we can get them hopefully in some of the QBE space that they are lightly underutilizing. We expect this rezoning and site, if it's approved, we expect that it will take through site plan approval a couple of years. So it's not something that's going to happen quickly where people have to move at any certain time. We're also going to help cover costs of any sort of move. And now with this pass through, virtually every tenant will have more parking within 150 feet of them than they currently have. There you go.
All right, we'll go back
Okay.
there.
That's the laser. Look,
Okay,
that button.
okay, got it. All right, so this, after we submitted the plan we just showed, one of the concerns we heard from town and others was that we since the Lewis home was already moved once, that it may not survive another move. So we came up with an alternative plan, which keeps the Lewis home where it is now, where the Cookies and Cream business, that house that it's in stays right where it is. And we basically created open space around it for the homeowners association and the commercial, and moved these 4 townhomes up facing Washington Street. So this is an alternative to the plan that was submitted, and it's really to address the issue of the Lewis home. And if it's preferred that that's not moved, we can work with that and leave it where it is and rearrange the townhouses slightly.
And one of the things I want to mention is just these 4 townhouses here in the front would be dressed so that the front of them, would be very appealing, would be a similar brick to what you see in town, so that as people enter the town, they get the feeling they're in town. So it would be very similar brick to what we've seen downtown, where it's like a darker brick that's been used. So that would be dressed up so it looks very nice, and would be very appealing, I think. We also moved that space, like Kirk mentioned, the open space that was there to the interior, which would be used by the residential, and that space would be, we feel like it'd be safer and more in closer proximity to all the residential.
And the other thing, in both plans, the Washington Street enhancement project, we've got plans shown to completely, redo the Washington Street frontage with the sidewalks and to be in compliance with the enhancement project.
Okay. So in summary, we realize that traffic is already an issue. We get that. And I don't think there's anybody we didn't hear that from. It's probably the first thing I'd bring up myself. Traffic is an issue. We believe the choice isn't between open fields and the our proposed rezoning. This property is going to be developed, and the choice is really between commercial development or the proposed residential. And this is the town doesn't have anything called mixed use. And we kind of view this as a horizontal mixed use. A lot of mixed use is like vertical mixed use, but this is kind of a horizontal mixed use where we've mixed, the commercial that's on the property with residential around it. But this development is, it's really about, it's between a commercial development that's a by right development that would negatively impact existing businesses, we believe, and bring 6 to 8 times, that's not a made up number, 6 to 8 times the traffic that this proposed rezoning would do. The residential fits in very nicely with the existing use and character of the surrounding properties, and it adds much needed housing. We're preserving in this plan vital community assets, being the Lewis home and the existing school, old school. We're enhancing the Washington Street streetscape while enhancing the vehicular and pedestrian safety. We're investing $2 million to enhance the Washington Street streetscape, the property entrance, the building structure itself, stormwater capture and parking areas. And this is separate and aside from anything to do with the actual residential development itself. We'll remove all the stored trailers on the site, the equipment that's out there, the other junk that's negatively impacting just the appearance of the site, including things that impact the neighboring Robinson Manor. The rezoning approval means a downzoning of the site. It's going to be 6 to 8 times less traffic than commercial, aligned with neighboring property uses and much lower intensity use. That's everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Presentation. Now I believe we'll turn to the
Turn it
staff
off.
report.
Turn it off.
Take it.
Okay. Yes.
You fix what you need to. Okay. Thank you, Siobhan and Kirk, both for the presentation tonight. So, Chair, as part of the staff reporting time, I would like to take a few moments to really cover the background and the history of this property so that everyone in our audience is aware of how this property has come to be over the years. So as mentioned by the applicant, this property is currently zoned B1. So for the town of Haymarket, that means business commercial. Those are your lower intensity commercial uses that you would find in a typical downtown area or a lower intensity business district. The property in total is 8.84 acres, and it previously, prior 2013, was split between the town of Haymarket and Prince William County. When this property was in the hands of the county, it operated as a public school. That is the old brick building on site, and all of the open area around it was play fields or fields that supported the school use. When the Prince William County School Board decided to sell this asset, it was put up and multiple people put in bids for the purchase of the property, and ultimately Sean Landry won that bid to purchase. During that time of the purchase, it was again in 2013, they went through the process to do a boundary line adjustment and annex the entirety of the property into the town of Haymarket. So the county town line no longer straddled down the center of the brick school building. So all of this property sits in the town of Haymarket as it stands today and has for the last 12 years. With the purchase of that property, there were proffers that went along with this. During that phase, the Prince William County Parks and Rec Division leased the fields from the owner and operated those as softball and baseball fields for the community. And so for quite some time, many years, these fields were open for the public to utilize when it came to softball, baseball uses, and that there were rental agreements on the site. That rental lease agreement ended in 2023, and it was no longer active. A couple years prior it ending, the Parks and Rec Department stopped utilizing it as frequently due to some concerns regarding the traffic along the front of the property and the proximity of the field when it came to Washington Street and the volume of traffic. There were some discussions with Parks and Rec through the years of their use of making some improvements to the site in order to allow for better safety measures. Ultimately, that did not occur. As it sits today, the entirety of this property is private property. There is no portion of it that is public use. I will state that our town's comprehensive plan has a planned land use map that shows this property as a future planned public use space. But again, as I stated today, it is completely private and it is zoned B1. So our applicant has come to the town and submitted an application this past fall. They are proposing to rezone 7.25 acres of this property to be residential. They're submitting an application for 58 townhouse units to go on the site. In the town's zoning ordinance, we allow for 8 townhouse units per acre. At quick math, 58 units is maxing out the 8 units per acre if all 7.25 acres proposed is successfully rezoned. A portion of the property will remain zoned B1, again, if approved and accepted as presented today. The portion that remains will house the brick school building and a small portion of land around that brick school building for parking. There is a waiver discussion regarding shared parking being on site, and so that would allow for the appropriate amount of commercial parking to support the business use. However, some of it would sit on the residentially zoned portion of the property. Through our discussions, as the applicant mentioned, they came into the town council and planning commission and mentioned and presented their concept to both government bodies. We gave general feedback on what was of concern at that time, and those items we brought up were traffic, impacts to the schools, impacts to the neighboring housing communities, as well as what the impacts would be on public services and other provided amenities in the area. When we further discussed it in the fall after an application was submitted, we brought up the discussion of the Lewis home. As everyone here probably knows it, Cookies and Cream. So Cookies and Cream building was originally located on the town park property at 14710 Washington Street. It formerly was utilized as the town's police department for a brief amount of time. And when Mr. Landry purchased the QBE property, he worked with the town and purchased the building and then relocated the building across Blight Drive onto the property where it sits today. This was prior to the Blight Drive homes being built. It has, of course, been moved once. It's been about over 10 years or coming up on 10 years since it's been moved. And when the applicants presented that they would like to relocate it again on site, I had some concerns regarding the integrity of the structure and if it would survive another move. One thing to note for everybody is that we have 2 historic structures sitting on this site, one of which being the Lewis home and the other being the historic school that's sat there. That school served the town in the 1930s is when it was originally built, and that was to offset the number of students that were attending school at the museum when it was the public school for Haymarket. So this building locally means something to our community, and as staff, we are very hopeful that the integrity of both structures will be maintained and the historic value will be recognized in this project. As we worked together with the applicant in the early discussions, we brought up the traffic impact. how the new entry exit point on site will impact the Green Hill Crossing neighborhood, specifically those individuals who live in Green Hill Crossing and try to make a left-hand turn to turn westbound on Washington Street. We know that this is already a major area of concern, and it is already a #1 citizen concern that we get calls about and our police department hears about. So we are continuing the discussion with the applicant of how traffic will be mitigated in this area. There is also a proposed entry exit point on Blight Drive that lines up with Dogwood Park Lane. This is an entry exit point that was previously proposed on previous site plans for this same property. Other rezonings on the property and site plans were not finalized and approved, but it is something that we have seen before in their proposals. We still have our concerns regarding traffic mitigation and what that new entry exit point would look like for the residents that are already in that area. We also have been in review of the application materials regarding the impacts to the school system. We are awaiting the comments back from Prince William County to include Prince William County School Board, and we will gather that information and share it with the commission once we receive it for the impact to the schools. At this time, I would state that if you turn to packet page 16, we have additional information and concerns that the staff has started to address and work through and would like to continue to bring up with the applicant. We will go through those in more detail during our agenda item this evening. But at this time, that is everything from staff, and we are very interested in hearing what our community has to say about this project and get their feedback.
Thank you. And yes, as spoken, we will now turn to citizen comments. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe each person will have 3 minutes to speak, or 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes to speak there. And I have the list here. So for those here and those signed up, we'll call them first. And it's 5 minutes. Okay. And of course, before I commence, forgive me if I mispronounce any names here. It's not intentional. And with that, we'll get started. The first person signed up here is Kristen Lucier.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening. I pronounced it the French way, Kristen Lucier, but the way you pronounced it is just as well. I live on 2541 Youngs Drive, Haymarket. I am a resident of Haymarket ever since I was born. We are actually standing in the building that used to be Gossamus Hardware. I am actually a former Everett. I am the daughter of Tim and Margaret Everett. They used to own Gossamus Hardware, which is this very building. So my family, we are very big into small businesses. And so hearing about Cookies and Cream and hearing about any small businesses having to leave is very concerning because the money that they make helps the town. And so we're hoping that if there is some kind of way to keep the commercial places on the property, because again, traffic is an issue, but again, small businesses really help the community. And it's also concerning with having more residential with the school systems. Businesses do help make money for the school systems and to keep children in school. So yeah, this is the first public hearing I've been to, so I'm very glad to be here. And yeah, I just hope that if there's some way that we can keep the commercial buildings on site, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And next up, we have Peter Kirk, I believe.
Good evening. My wife Lorenzo and I are the owners of the Italian Performing Arts dance studio which is in the old school building. We opened just 6 months ago after spending being encouraged by the town and the owners to take that lease that property and to spend. We spent $30,000 on work on our unit, and on a dance floor, mirrors, painting, and general improvements to the property. And now we have heard just recently that the plan is to demolish the part of the building that we are in, the part of the historic building which is going to be cut off, because they say it's not so historic. But we have been offered these gentlemen have we've talked to Siobhan here. I know they're trying to work with us to find a new space in the building where we can relocate to. But that would mean spending another $30,000 on getting it going again. I'm not sure we can come to some arrangement in the financing, but it was many months of my wife and me working, and our staff working on this. So you understand that we're not happy about the situation. We're now left uncertain. Our business was starting to grow, but now we're left in an uncertain position about where we are, what's going to happen in the future, whether there'll even be a space for us. Nothing seems to be guaranteed. I don't think there's anything more I need to say, so we'll leave that. And my wife Lorenza will not be speaking as well. So
Can I say something? Just
yes,
for a minute?
okay, yeah.
I just wanted to say this is one of their 3 studios that they own, at Vitalia Studios. So their other 2 studios are in Woodstock and Winchester and are very successful. You guys are extremely lucky to have this business here. I live out in Culpeper and Amosville and drive 45 minutes so my daughter can take ballet classes and acro classes. Lorenza is a professional ballerina from Florence. So the culture that you guys are getting in your town is so unique, and this business is actually a hidden gem because it's tucked around that building. We are trying as the parents and the staff to help market to get this business out. But I'm telling you, there is not a dance studio that's like this. And that's why we're driving as far as we are. My daughter's danced since she was 3, and we would continue to do that drive to come here. So I think this community is very blessed to have them here. And any way that we can encourage the business to stay is a huge win. We don't have anything like this in Warrenton. We don't have anything like this in Culpeper. And that's why we make the drive here. So I think it's vital to the community to keep the dance studio for sure and to spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your comments are appreciated. Now I see on the list, the next person here is, I believe, Hillary Heifman.
Yeah, we were signing in, and we didn't know we would be speaking, so we're not prepared.
Okay.
We were
Trish.
encouraged to sign in, but we didn't know we'd be speaking.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So the next 3 people, I think, are all Lucille and Cindy are on.
Oh, as well as Cindy as well? Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. If you change your mind, feel free to speak as well. So next up on the list, going along here is Carmen Sevilla. Yes.
Well, good evening. So I'm in a little predicament here. So honestly, I think the town has had a few extra years of cookies and cream when it comes down to it. Okay. In a normal setting, rent cookies and cream in a non-warm climate might not necessarily be here long term, right? If you do math and rent, it's one of those things. The Cantlands had a great deal when they moved it. We took over. We had a good deal, but at the end of the day, that area is a goat farm right now. It needs to be beautified for this town. We have some prospects that are going to do some good, I believe. I've had multiple meetings with them along with the previous owners as well. And no guarantees, but they have assured us that Cookies and Cream and Ghosted will stay on some level, okay? Although we have 2 years, so it would be up to us as well to kind of see what we can do in town. The reason why I bring that up, because I came to the town a couple times about that caboose. There you go. Thank you. And let's say that Cookies doesn't, it has to be a rec center, it has to be whatever it has to be. Fine. There's still possibilities with this in town to keep this. So that caboose would be a great Cookies and Cream, ideally. Ghosted though, when I first came to this town and set up on Washington in a tent, I knew nothing about Cookies and Cream. Cookies and Cream came a year and a half later when I needed to stay in town. So for us, it was a blessing in disguise, and we wanted to keep Cookies and Cream part of this town as long as we could and keep it the exact same way as you guys all knew it, okay? But not everything stays the same. So I'm asking this town to kind of support this, because you never know what could go in there if they don't come through with the deal here. Plus, it's going to be another couple years. So if the town or the people in the town want some change that's going to be good, I think, for everybody, then I think this might be the window that we have. When I first got there, there was a pothole in there for about 1.5 years. And I couldn't believe that we couldn't get it fixed. And again, everybody, as far as the relationship that I have with the Landrys and with Connor, it's separate. I have a very good relationship with both of them, but they're not going to take care of the property. So I think that people that are going to make an investment in it and in the community, whether it's different, that's okay. Sometimes different is good. If they're willing to put me or help other people in the building to stay there or work with us, then I think we should give them a shot. The Ghosted could have a dine-in. That'd be something special, I think, instead of takeout. The trailers itself, it's an eyesore. So, although we don't necessarily want this necessarily to be a negative thing, I think we got to look at it from a positive and see that what we can do to kind of benefit everyone, not only just the businesses in the area, but also the town. Commercial is going to bring, like you said, a lot more traffic. Okay, I don't know if it's going to hurt other businesses. It might help businesses, but that part alone will be the traffic. Houses, they go to work, they come home, maybe they're home, whatever. I don't think it's really about that at the end of the day. I think at the end of the day, I think that if this property is going to change at all and they're willing to help existing businesses right now, then I'm for it. I appreciate this town and everything that you guys have done for us as a business and as a family. I came to Haymarket because it was everybody's town, and I truly believe that. Even though I don't live here, I have a lot of ties to this area, and it's something that I want to pursue. So if things happen the way it's not going to happen, fine. But we'll find a spot in Haymarket. I think Cookies and Cream will live some way, somehow, whether it's tucked into Ghosted, but I will get you guys ice cream some way, somehow. And I know you have 2 other places in town, but that's not what this is about, okay? But I'm up for if anybody wants to talk later. If we can't, let's talk, because I think Cookies and Cream is special, and I think it means something part of this town. But as a business owner on that property, and I'm going to be directly impacted, I say we roll the dice. We give these guys an opportunity to say what they were going to do, and let's just get it done. I appreciate you guys, and let's talk about the caboose.
Thank you. And next on the list, we have Jason Doucette.
Good evening. My name is Jason Doucette. I own Battlefield Jiu-Jitsu. We operate in the building in question, but my history with the building goes back to the early 80s. The back portion of the building that would get torn down was my third grade classroom. I operate in what was my gymnasium, where the Jazzercise building is with my fourth grade class and where QBE is was my fifth grade class. So my family's been here since 1978, and I've seen a lot of changes come to the area. Bought my first hunting license in your family's business when it was on the grassy portion of the building. We used to buy butchered beef from the portion next door. I've seen this place change a lot. I've also had the opportunity to see some of the proposed plans for the site. And I think it's pretty safe to say that as far as how Haymarket is concerned and the small town feel, the last thing we need is another high density commercial site. The traffic is a nightmare, obviously things that have to be looked at, but what fits the town is putting some form of residential in there, in my opinion. This is by far the best of those plans. So I would ask that the town take that into consideration. I know you don't want to see development, right? People are hesitant to see the development. Prior to going full-time in martial arts, I was in land development and construction. And there's one thing I can tell you is that it's coming one way or the other. So you might as well control it and limit it to what's good for the town because you're not going to prevent it. If you push back too hard, you push people away, then it will end up being the commercial, and then we'll all suffer from that. So I ask that you strongly consider this. I know there might have to be some changes, but this is the best plan put forth so far for the property. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Deanna Freer.
I too didn't realize what I was signing up for. But I am a little concerned about the addition of 58 houses and 58 more.
Would you come to the?
Go speak, please.
I am a little concerned about the addition of 58 more houses and families and the traffic that would come with that. I feel like the space could maybe be better used for community facilities and things that the existing residents could use. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Feedback is appreciated. And next we have signed up here Gregory Terrier. Terry.
Good evening, everyone. I live White Drive in Dogwood Park, so right on the corner where all this action is going to be happening. You guys did a pretty good job answering most of my questions. The ones I'm most concerned, or one of the ones that was left unanswered is, the parking along Blight Drive. Yes, along Blight Drive on the side where the townhouse is going to be. Is Blight going to be expanded or widened to accommodate the cars that are, I would assume, potentially from the townhouses parking on that side of the street? Or my other question was, are they going to be encouraged to park on that side? So that's something that has to be decided. Then my biggest concern also is when you leave Blight Drive to get onto Washington Street, if you want to turn left during the wrong times of the day, it can take 5-10 minutes, or you decide to turn right. So I don't know what can be done to address that, but it is a problem today and will probably become a problem next time. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your feedback. The next person I have here is Randy Miyaoka. Randy? No. All right. Again, if you do change your mind. Okay. Then the next person on the list is Jessica Ornero.
I didn't know what I was signing up for either.
It says attendance sheet on it.
So I live in Green Hill Crossing, and I can walk out and look to the left and see Cookies and Cream. And I remember when Carmen set up his red tent during COVID, and I actually thought it was like a Red Cross thing, so I wasn't even sure what it was. Knowing Carmen all those years, obviously I was just concerned about Cookies and Cream, and I was concerned about Carmen, first of all, and just making sure that he still had a place to do his business, and making sure that he was taken care of. And just because he's been a good support for our community and for Green Hill Crossing and a lot of our events. Traffic is always a concern, obviously. Obviously, we know that something does have to go there, just like everybody else is saying. You know, just listening to all the comments, you know, I don't know that residential is less traffic than commercial. I don't know that I agree with that. I do feel for, I didn't realize how much culture we have with these, with this ballerina that we have here. So I'm actually tempted to just go watch you now. So, yeah. But, you know, I tell you what, one thing I would really love to see would be a crosswalk, you know, there, because I feel like we're playing Frogger every time that we have to cross to go get some tacos, you know, or go get our ice cream. That's been something that we've been fighting for a long time. So please write that down. So yeah, so obviously traffic, like I said, everybody's worried about traffic, you know, getting out there. You know, we have a one-way entrance to get into the area there, and people can't follow that, you know, the way it is currently. So traffic and making sure that it's clear on how you come in and out of there. That's a big deal. There's near misses there all the time, you know. But yeah, so just trying to limit the footprint. So definitely having a mix, you know, having some business, some residential. Less residential would be great, you know, if we can do less, that would be great, you know. So I just don't know what the happy medium is here, you know. We just want less traffic. That's just the key word right now is less traffic, right? And just fighting to get out of our development is hard right now. So I don't know what the solution is, right? What's the happy medium for everybody? I don't know what it is, but you know, actually living there and fighting to get out, that's the struggle for us. So just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your feedback is appreciated. And that was the last signed up name on the list here. So if anyone else in the room would like to speak, I guess we can start either lining up or signing up as needed. If anyone else would like to speak.
And just as a friendly reminder, when you come up to the mic, please state your name and your address.
We have to?
Yes, please.
No.
Yes, sir. You do.
Dave Capicella, 6885 Jockey Club Lane. You know, coming in here and reading everything and learning the different things going on, I had a different thought process as to what was going on here. Listening to some of the tenants that are in the facility already, actually speaking positive about this, I'm excited knowing that you guys are working with them. As you've heard many people say, traffic is the concern, okay? Lady who just spoke, crosswalk. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a lot of times when I'm out walking my dog, I walk my dog by there every night, okay? Almost every night, in case my wife's listening. That being said, there's many a time where I've wanted to go across the street to Traval or to go get an ice cream or something like that, but I'm just not gonna risk it crossing over Washington Street with my dog. And it's a lab, it's not a little dog, it's a big dog, but I'm just not gonna risk it. Making a left turn out of Green Hill Crossing Drive to out onto Washington Street is a nightmare. The trick that most people do is they come down Jockey Club and come out onto St. Paul. If traffic studies are done, I hope that the traffic studies are also done to start doing measurements of St. Paul Drive as well, because that's something that VDOT probably is not taking into account is shortcuts that other people use when getting around. And those cars go blazing down Jockey Club right in front of my house all the time. My Ring doorbell goes off all day and all night long with people going down that way. So just some of the ancillary roads you got to take into account. I'm not going to solve traffic stuff. I'm not a traffic engineer, but it just makes sense for something to be there, traffic circle, something with a crosswalk. Just so people aren't risking their lives to get across the road anymore. And it'll actually be beneficial for the businesses. That's all I got. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep, so I'm Jason from 2541 Youngs Drive. I'm in disagreement with the rezoning completely. What is a town without commercial? It's nothing. Traffic can obviously be mitigated in a magnitude of different ways. You know, this is not 15 where we're living on 10 acres. This is a town. And this town survives off of its small businesses, such as the dance crew. There's other places, there's other things or other places you can put townhomes. I see townhomes, I see houses going up everywhere around here. Why are we doing it in the town? This should be commercial. It should stay commercial. We can bring other businesses. This might not be the right land developer, but it should stay commercial. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Feedback's appreciated.
Good evening. My name is Miguel Perez. I'm the owner-operator of Zonders Taqueria. We are one of the businesses in the center. We've been there for 6 years coming up here next month, and I echo some of the statements of the other owners in the property. I'm very thankful to Sean Landry. He recruited us to come to the town of Haymarket and made it possible for us to open Zonders about 6+ years ago. But, since he's kind of moved out of the area, his love and his passion for the building has kind of faded. And the last couple of years, we faced a lot of challenges with the property in regards to lighting, the parking, the potholes, the grass growing, things of that nature that have also impacted our business. And so we're actually very pleased and excited about this proposal. We feel that the developers have been very forthcoming. They came, they reached out to us, they met with us, they talked about some of our concerns, and we're excited about having a potential owner that shares the same passion, who's a local, that, wants to see the center do better, as opposed to kind of where we are at the moment. We're also very pleased with the idea of the one way in, one way out. Right now, in the current configuration, it's a huge safety hazard. We have incidents almost on a regular basis where our customers or our staff or our team or other tenants in the center, almost get hit by cars coming around the back of the building when it's dark at night. And this has been an issue that's been going on for years. And so the idea of improving the flow within the center is something that we look as a major positive, especially with improvements to the front of Washington Street. We think that's a real positive. Our only concern, and the same one that I addressed with them, is maintaining the level of parking that we have in the center. We have some very successful businesses here, and I think with the increase of residents that would be right outside our door, parking is going to continue to be a premium. And so that's our only concern. And basically, we've been kind of assured that parking will be maintained at the level that it is now or better. So we're in favor of it. Ultimately, we prefer the idea of this versus a big, huge commercial center right outside our door. The nice thing about the center now is all family-owned small businesses. I hope they can accommodate the other businesses in the center that are getting displaced. We all understand what it is to be a small business and make an investment. When we came here, we made a hefty investment and we continue to make one. So, but the thing that I like is this developer, this group has shown that willingness. And, I've dealt with, Zonders is located in Manassas. We're located in Culpeper. We've been located in Fairfax. And let me tell you, usually developers come in like a bulldozer and they could care less about what the tenants. If your lease is expiring, they let your lease expire and see you later. So the fact that they're showing concern for the tenants, I think is a huge plus and something that we're looking forward to.
Thank you.
How you doing? Stephen Boyajian. I'm one of the owners at True Vibe Brewing, also a tenant of that building, just like some of these folks. I think it's important to know that when this was first proposed, we actually met with Siobhan. He wanted to meet with us. We discussed maybe 10 minutes, got to know him. And his first immediate question was, what's important here? What needs to be done here? He wanted to know the problems we were having. He wanted to know, what tenants were important. We immediately told him Cookies and Cream, Ghost had to stay, and he was interested in that. He wanted to get to know Carmen. He wanted to know the story. I think it's important to remember that we live in an area where it's pretty clear that if you have big open area space, probably going to put a data center on it. I'd rather have some townhouses and some fields. I think we can all agree on that. There's a lot. If you go up the road here, it's pretty ugly. I just think it's important that we remember this is a small town. Townhouses fit in that. The small businesses that are there, he wants to promote them. He wants to keep them there. Anything we can do to keep that. And I know there was some concern about, let's keep it commercial. The commercial aspect of it, it's staying. We're not going anywhere. We have options on our lease. We don't plan to leave. We've been here for almost 4 years now. We love it. We love the community. We love the people. Greg, I don't know where you are, but if you get stuck in traffic on Blight, come over and have a beer. We're right there. So, just consider that you are looking at people that care. And like Miguel said, someone could come in, just wipe everything out, build whatever they want. I'd rather have this. So, food for thought.
Thank you. Feedback is appreciated.
Am I allowed to add something quickly?
I think you have, it should be fine, yeah. About a minute or so.
So it's Peter Kirk from Italian Performing Arts again. I just want to say, in case it sounded like we were too negative, I mean, I do see a lot of positives about this proposal, and we're very happy with the way we've interacted with Siobhan and had open discussions about that, and we're happy that he's trying what he can to relocate us. The lady also said about making things smaller. I think my preference would be along those lines too. Why we can't have a slightly smaller number of townhouses and keep the whole of the current building and not just demolish part of it. Right. Okay. And thank you to Siobhan anyway. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anybody else in the audience here who wishes to speak?
Good evening. Alexander Bayena. I live in the town. I come before you as a HOA president for Villages of Haymarket. Right, I reside in that community. I just ask you to consider some things in relation to what's being proposed, right? In my personal opinion, there's no ifs or buts about it. It's going to result in adverse impact to the residents living in the Villages of Haymarket, Alexandra's Keep, as well as the 11 townhomes that have been proposed on Blight Drive, right? I think most of you know that Blight Drive is the only access that we have to those communities, right? Introducing additional traffic onto that drive will result in our inability to, not so much to, maybe also both to enter, access our community as well as to exit the community. As someone spoke here, it takes at times, depending on the time of the day, the condition of traffic, up to 5-10 minutes to make especially left drive onto Washington Street. Now, by introducing additional traffic as a result of the additional residential units, but also potentially traffic from the businesses onto Blight Drive, just imagine what that's going to create on Blight Drive, right? That's going to result in car stacking to especially make a left turn. And keep in mind, there are also about 5 residential homes with driveways on Blight Drive, 4 of which I believe have small kids that at times play in the front yard, what have you, right? So it's not ideal to introduce additional traffic on Blight Drive. I just want you to keep that in mind if you could. And from a safety perspective, right, some of the businesses that exist on that property as of right now do serve our alcohol. One actually is a brewery. Does it make sense to introduce traffic from such businesses onto what so far has been a residential street, Blight Drive, right? Does that make sense? I don't believe so, right? And I don't think the applicant at this point has introduced any mitigation from a traffic perspective on Blight Drive. I believe it's going to come down to the traffic study or VDOT indicating that that drive is able to handle X number of trips per day, right? But I just want you to use common sense, logic, observation, right? And determining whether or not it's going to result in an adverse impact to residences in that area, right? As much as possible, again, this is my opinion, a proposed development should, again, as much as possible, not result in adverse impact to residents, right? I know there has to be a balance, but as much as possible, that needs to be prevented. Another concern is parking. I don't believe there is enough parking allocated on that property, especially for the residential units, right? I know the plan is to do some sort of a shared parking use, but considering that there is practically no street parking based on the density that's being proposed, right? And basically what they're thinking is people are going to be leveraging their driveways, or they're going to be parking the cars in their garages. That is not always the case, right? You can look around, drive around other communities, so you can tell how many, even though people have driveways and garages, how many cars are parked in the streets, right? So not having enough parking in that development will result in, again, adverse impact to parking in other neighboring communities. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Please.
Yes. Barry Blackburn. I'm at 6900 Barbera Drive. I live in Robinson Manor, which is adjacent to the planned development. And I guess I would just like to understand a little bit more clearly at what point we'll know the lines of demarcation between the neighborhoods a little bit better. Right now, there's a fence, I believe, that looks like it's been there for some time that separates the neighborhoods up until the point you get to the Haymarket Professional Building. And so it'd be nice to know what that's going to look like just from potential mitigation of noise coming from the commercial or residential. And just again want to emphasize, it was brought up earlier that perhaps there might be something the way between Blight and Green Hill Lane, or I'm not sure the name, but a traffic circle or something to promote a left-hand turn lane. I believe the traffic going east-west will increase dramatically as the data centers come online and the marketplace opens up here. People will be using this route to get to Old Carolina and then cut up and go shop there, where previously they were not. So again, I don't know how they're going to make left-hand turn lane out of the proposed development. I can tell you out of Robinson, it's pretty difficult at times. And the blessing we have is we can cut through Piedmont Center, go by the US Tigers, and then take a back route to the traffic circle. So I'm able to make a left turn lane quite easily. Were that back door not there, yeah, it'd be very difficult. So I just want to bring that up, make sure you're aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Going once. Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay.
Chair,
We should proceed. Yes.
I do have several emails, and per our previous meetings that we've held, we tend to read these into the record. So if I may, I'll read these into the record.
Yes, that would be the next step. So yes, thank you.
Okay.
Please continue.
This one is from James Carroll and Maureen Carroll at 6862 Track Court. To the members of the Planning Commission, we write to urge you to reject the application for a change in the zoning status for the property at 14600 Washington Street, Haymarket. This proposed change would allow for an unacceptable increase in the number of homes in an already congested area of town. The traffic going into and out of the town along Washington Street is at an extremely high volume, making crossing the street dangerous and difficult. The areas of Haymarket Station, Alexander's Keep, and the entire Blight Street area would be negatively impacted by the change, as they have been by the recently completed housing developments east of this area. Allowing this change would also negatively affect traffic going west into Haymarket and east to Gainesville. Washington Street is already gridlocked during the day, especially during the morning and afternoon pickup and drop-off school times, as well as the evening post-work traffic congestion. More housing would only worsen this congestion. Furthermore, the impact on the police, fire, and educational services needed by the expanding population would create additional strains and expenses on those departments, budgets, and services. Haymarket has prided itself as being a walking town. While that nickname might seem quaint, it creates a strong attraction to Haymarket. Today, even with the increased sidewalks and crossings, one often takes life and limb in danger when crossing Washington Street and town streets. For these reasons, we are strongly opposed to this change. Respectfully, James Carroll, Maureen Carroll. The next one, I apologize for the pronunciation, is from Sana Raleigh. My name is Sana. I live at 14734 Alexander's Keep, Haymarket. We moved from Ashburn to Haymarket in June of 2022. We live right next to the new 55 plus community. Soon after we bought our home, construction for the 55 plus community started. There has been construction noise all day, every day. There was also dynamite blasting, which caused a strong impact on our home. Our house is the first one next to the construction, so it was affected the most. Because of this, we now have cracks in our driveway and in the garage. Our community HOA contacted the company. They sent 2 employees from Pennsylvania, but did not do any repairs. Since this construction will be directly in front of our home, I believe it will cause the same problems we faced 3 years ago. Also, there will be heavy traffic on Washington Street every day. When I go to pick up my son from Buckland Elementary School, the distance is only 1.8 miles, but it takes about 30 minutes. Around 3:30 p.m., it is very difficult to make a right turn from Blight Drive onto Washington Street and a left turn from Washington Street onto Old Carolina Drive. The same traffic problem happens on the way back from school to home. Adding 50 more homes will be adding more time and more traffic onto our streets. Thank you, Sinai. The next one is from Maureen Moderock off of Grand Cru Loop. This letter is in opposition to the proposed rezoning at 14600 Washington Street, Haymarket, Virginia, from B1 to R2. We believe the zoning should not change. The car impact of a high-density development onto Washington Street would be disastrous. Washington Street, as it is already overcrowded and very dangerous to navigate. We were glad to see that the proposal did not include opening the stubs into Robinson Manor, which would be a to create another Washington Street through our neighborhood, creating a dangerous situation for our community and those who use Piedmont Center Plaza. There has also been at least one incident of a car driving up the path in the back of our development near the holding pond. Our neighbors put back up the chain, but obviously people who live back there are very frustrated with the flow of traffic. It is dangerous already, as stated. Putting in R2 zoning will be likely striking a match. Haymarket needs no more high-density housing in this area, but a nice shopping center that complements the school would definitely be used by our communities. People love to move about and visit local businesses, and therefore we would not agree with changing the zoning in this area. Thank you for your time and consideration, Maureen and Greg. The next one is from Julie Samek. Dear members of Planning Commission, I am writing to express my deepest concern and strongest opposition regarding the proposed rezoning of the property at 14600 Washington Street from B1 to R2. While I do not typically speak out on such matters, the potential loss of the businesses currently operating at this location has compelled me to voice my disapproval. This area is more than just a plot of land. It's a vital community hub where families gather and local commerce thrives. Specifically, the loss of Ghosted Concepts Cookies and Cream would be a devastating blow to the town. The owner, Carmen, has poured his heart into this family-run business, creating a staple that began with a simple and delicious chicken sandwich and became a local landmark encompassing cookies and cream. Seeing him work alongside his children teaches our community the value of hard work and family values that are far more precious to Haymarket than another residential development in an already tight area. Furthermore, businesses like Zandra's and Truvai are essential to the character of our town, but I am unsure if they too are up for discussion. In an era where our landscape is increasingly dominated by data centers, we must protect the small mom and pop establishments that give Haymarket its identity. Replacing these thriving social spaces with residential units would strip away the sense of community that makes this town a place where people want to live in the first place. I urge the commission to consider the human element of this decision and decline this rezoning application. Please protect the heart of our town and the livelihoods of the families who make it special. Respectfully, Julie. The next one is from John Kritzman. Good morning. I strongly oppose the proposed rezoning of this property from B1 to R2. Over the last several years, multiple new housing developments have already been approved along the same stretch of road, and the infrastructure is failing to keep up. I now sit in daily traffic backups that did not exist even a year ago. An additional residential density will only worsen congestion and safety concerns. This change would also displace small businesses, which reduces local economic activity and takes money away from the town. Haymarket should be protecting locally owned businesses that serve its residents, not forcing them out in favor of more development that primarily benefits the applicant rather than the community. If the town is considering changes to this area, I encourage you to pursue alternatives that strengthen Haymarket's character, restoring and reimagining the former ball field space as a park, community center, public recreation area. That kind of investment would enhance the quality of life, support local businesses, and preserve what makes Haymarket distinct. I could also see the farmers market expand beautifully in this space. I can already imagine the sound of children playing sports or games like hide and seek because I've heard it in this space before. At a minimum, this proposal should not move forward without a comprehensive traffic impact analysis and a funded mitigation plan. But ultimately, I urge you to deny this rezoning request. Haymarket is at risk of being absorbed into urban sprawl, losing the very identity that makes it special. Thank you for your time and consideration, John. And lastly, this is from Pat Blair. We are writing to express our concern for rezoning the property now occupied by Cookies and Cream and Ghosted Concepts. These are neighborhood treasures, and to think that they will be shut down to add more what? Housing? There's lots of open space surrounding the town which is better suited. Why cram more people into a space that is right now open and free space and home to a small business that has been successful for over 9 years? Keeping it business commercial is more appropriate for where that area is. We wouldn't mind more retail. Let's just keep the gyms that we have. Pat Blair off of Geyser Creek Loop in Haymarket. Those are all of the emails that have been submitted to the town clerk or myself.
Thank you. And I believe, is there any other format for others, anyone to make comment, or is that's all we have for now? Okay. Yes, I mean, if the time is still available.
So I kind of wish I'd gone later.
Please report.
Not loud enough. I kind of wish I'd gone later.
Definitely right for now.
And I touched on it briefly, kind of indirectly. I can relate wholeheartedly to the not in my backyard aspect of this, because 99% of you are the not in my backyard for my backyard. So I think the town needs to consider that a lot of the concerns are mitigatable items, right? I don't know what the answer to those things are, but we can address the traffic, we can address the crosswalk. Those things can be designed and engineered. We have to not overburden the town, but we also have to consider, is the concern truly a concern, or is it something that can be engineered, designed, and the impact mitigated in a way that makes the current proposal work? Because what we don't need is a 3-car garage. And I know that was one of the plans coming in. So the traffic designs are pretty accurate from my experience with engineering design. So we don't want a 3-car garage there. And based on how things are zoned now, you're probably not going to like what comes in. And you're probably, as the town, going to have more headaches with that than with this. So I relate to everybody's concerns. I wish I'd gone later to be able to include this in it, but the not in my backyard thing sits in my heart for about 3.5 decades now. So, but it's coming, and we need to make sure that what comes works with the town. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think with that, since others have spoken, do I need a motion to close the public hearing? No? Okay, okay. Okay, yes, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and the applicant can now speak, continuing with our agenda on item sub 6 under item 4.
I'll keep it a lot less than that. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for the feedback, and thanks for the feedback that was written in. I think we started out saying we understand traffic is the number one concern. I think from what we heard, it is the biggest concern. I just want to clarify, I don't want to speak to anything that specifically was said, but just there were some comments about they'd rather have commercial, yet traffic's an issue, and whether commercial was actually more impactful than residential. And it's not something we made up. You know, we did do a traffic study. It's documented in our application. If you look at tables for commercial, they're 6 to 8 times residential. So it's not something being made up or spoofed for what we're doing. It's 6 to 8 times. And that's low density, 1-story commercial. You know, so that's the main thing I want to stress is I fully get the comments about want to keep it as grass fields, make it those types of things. I think everybody would. That's a tall ask of the landowner who wants to sell it. You know, unless somebody's going to come and buy it and give it so they can be used that way, that's not a likely outcome. And the likely outcome is commercial or residential. And all we're proposing is we think that of the 2 alternatives, the residential is going to be a lower impact on the community. That's it. Thank you.
I'll
Oh,
just add,
okay.
again, yeah, thanks for all the comments. I wrote notes and we'll listen to the recording and try and incorporate everything into any changes we make.
And thank you to those that supported it.
Okay, thank you. And again, I do appreciate all the commentary and comments we've heard from everyone today. It's very helpful as we consider this application, and we would look to address that later in this meeting or to future meetings as well, all this commentary to kind of take it all together. So with that, I guess we can proceed with the agenda. And next up is just citizens' time, which, as I understand, is if you're wishing to speak on anything aside from, again, what's on the agenda tonight, you may come up and speak. Okay, seeing none, we'll keep going. Okay, all right, in that front. No. Okay. Okay. Thank you again for the speaking. We'll need to continue with our meeting today, this evening. Okay. So again, if you could please make a quiet exit as you're able, as we may continue our meeting, continue our business for the town tonight.
Thank you, and if you need to, feel free to have conversation outside.
Yes, thank you. And so continuing on with our agenda, next up is item number 6, which is the minute approval. And do I have any comments or a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I make the motion to approve the minutes for the meeting from December 9th, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, so first seconded, we're gonna say all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And the next item on our agenda, continuing on, is now We're on item number 7, the agenda items, the first subset being rezoning 2025-001, which is the rezoning application for 14600 Washington Street. Emily, I believe.
Yes, thank you. So at this time, myself and Lydia and Katie McDaniel, our town engineer, sorry, Katie, we're going to share with the Planning Commission some of the review and the staff summary comments that we have on the application. This is also going to be the time that the applicant is able to approach the podium and we can have some back and forth dialogue between the Planning Commission staff and the applicant. This is the opportunity for commissioners to ask questions and share concerns and have that discussion amongst staff and the applicant. We can also bring up concerns and discussion points that were brought up during the public hearing citizens time. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Lydia to go through some of the staff report findings and discussion items that we want to have with the applicants.
Hi, you guys. So I'm going to run through the staff report that is in your packets. We will begin on page 9. I'm just going to note that the review was done in accordance with the zoning ordinance section 58-3.7, section 58-4.12, and section 58-4.14. The generalized review just kind of summarizes what we found in the report and our concerns in response to the GDP, the Generalized Development Plan. Just kind of running down the list. First, we addressed the vehicular circulation and access is addressed at conceptual level, but the town requests a full and clear schematic of the bike lane connecting Blight Drive to the Prince William County line, or the southeastern portion of the property. There is a pre-existing bike lane that runs through the town, and we would like to see it continue as the development comes to fruition. And we ask that the applicant ensure that the traffic impact analysis appropriately considers the bike lane in the study. It was previously left unmentioned. Further, the town requests additional details regarding the proposed mitigation measures for the impact of the increased traffic at the new exit entry on the site, and the impact of the trips per day on Blight Drive due to the proposed entry exit on Blight Drive. We want to see a clear outline of per the 3.2 per household, 186 new residents. We want to see how that's actually going to affect Blight Drive and whether or not additional right turn lane versus left turn lane are needed in consideration to people parking. Like it was brought up in our comments, people living in those townhouses, if they may be parking on Blight Drive to gain access to the front of their homes, as well as individuals who live on Blight Drive having to pull out from their parking. Additionally, the submission does not include a mapped inventory of historic, scenic, or natural features and a detailed preservation plan. It does acknowledge that the presence of the historic cultural asset, the Lewis home, and the schoolhouse building itself, but we need detailed documentation and site-specific protection measures. It is recommended that the applicant address these concerns during the rezoning by providing an archaeological and architectural report on the intended actions and the subsequent preservation methods for both the Lewis home and the District 19 school. The portion that is suggested to be removed from the school was built in 1964. We would love to see how the removal of that affects the rest of the building, how the movement from the Lewis home from its current place to the potential proposed place in front of the school might affect the architectural and structural engineering of the actual building. There is concern about how the structure has been upkept the past couple of years, so we have concerns about that. The submission does provide a clear numeric limits for development intensity under the proposed R2 zoning. 7.2 acres would be limited to 30%. The town requests the GDP include proposed total lot coverage according to the town zoning ordinance. That's section 58-10.6. That was not depicted on the GDP. Additionally, the submission identified amenities intended to serve future residents in the surrounding community, including common green spaces, pedestrian connections, and shared open spaces. But the town requests that conceptions clearly depict all setbacks, buffer yards, and landscaping requirements. General detail on the final amenity design, landscape details, and plant selections shall be provided during that discussion. Any proposed hardscapes such as fencing and other barriers, it was brought up by one resident about fencing separating the QBE property with a Robinson Manor. I think that they mentioned there's a previous fencing already there, but it does not run all the way to Washington Street. So any additional work there would have to be finalized with us, as well as exact detailing of plant selections. We'll finalize that during the site plan phase in accordance with the approved plant list in the town zoning ordinance. And then in accordance with section 58-4.14, the applicant proposes rezoning a portion of the subject property to R2 district. However, the development analysis describes a residential use consistent with R2 district. However, limited detail is provided regarding the integration of architectural design, site layout, landscaping, and common open space across the property. As such, the town requests additional conceptual mock-ups to be provided for review in congruency with surrounding area. The narrative does not address the nearby public assets, including the town park, Silver Lake, or James Long Park. It references other parks within the county, but for the residents who would potentially be living on the site, if it was accepted and moved forward with, they are not going to get into their cars and drive several miles away when they can walk 50 feet to the town park. And that park was not considered during this GDP. So we request that the town park, Silver Lake, and James Long Park all be considered in how they will be affected with additional residents. Sorry. So again, that's noting the Lewis home, and just that the development analysis does not fully address the potential impacts of relocation on the historical integrity. As a small town, we really value the historic spaces that we have here in town. We want to protect them. We want to make sure that they're here for as long as we can. And so the potential of moving that Lewis home, we were very concerned with just how it's going to hold up to that move. So we would really like to see a full document outlining that, as well as the town is requesting a waiver be filed for parking to be placed in front of the historic town structure. Traditionally, our zoning ordinance does not allow for parking to be placed directly in front of a historic building. So we're requesting a waiver for that, as well as a demolition permit to remove the back end of that school building, since it will be removed. And then further evaluation of historic architectural and archaeological resources may be required. Additionally, the applicant indicates that water and sanitary sewer service would be provided to support the proposed development. The town has requested conceptual visual for stormwater management, including an infiltration trench or suitable mitigation alternatives. It is recognized on the GDP that your stormwater is mentioned as being placed in the grassy area that's in the front southeastern corner of the actual development, and then to the north back end behind the last row of townhouses around Alexandria's Keep. We're just asking for additional conceptual mock-ups of what that stormwater drainage would look like. And any additional details about that we'll evaluate during the site plan. The the develop analysis identifies a proposed tree buffer along the southern boundary of the property. We're noting that the narrative does not provide detail regarding the width, composition, or long-term maintenance of the buffer. Currently, the majority of the trees located along the southern buffer are in poor condition, or they're frankly dead. This shall be taken into consideration for the proposed tree buffer. The town requests conceptual documents clearly depicting all setbacks, buffers, and landscaping requirements in accordance with zoning ordinance section 58-10.3 and section 58-10.4. Additionally, the town has concerns about the transportation system. The town has requested discussion on the proposed mitigation measures for the increased traffic flow at Washington Street and Green Hill Crossing intersection and the Washington Street and Blythe Drive intersection. The town would really love to see a potential mock-up for a roundabout at the access way for Washington and Green Hill Crossing. And we're requesting a roundabout be considered. Any other mitigation alternatives can be discussed at this time. But as you heard, a lot of residents come out and speak that left-hand turn is really posing an issue. Increased traffic, as we know, and as you have mentioned, is the biggest concern. So in addition to that, this town is also asking that a pedestrian crosswalk be put in connecting the existing crosswalk at Green Hill Crossing to the proposed development on Washington Street to provide pedestrian safety. This, although it is a town request and largely a matter of pedestrian safety, it also proposes and aligns with your mixed-use development. If you are creating an inviting commercial space, then having pedestrian safety and walkability is very important for that. The town is requesting additional specifications on the phasing of the proposed project be submitted in the GDP. The town is also requesting the applicant submit architectural conceptions for the proposed residential units, the rehabilitation of the Lewis Home and the Old Brick School building. Additional detailed architectural concepts will be submitted later on. The town staff are requesting additional specifications be submitted for the landscaping plan and appropriate buffers. And a point to connect it to the town's comprehensive plan and our strategic plan, we would like to note that the town wished to work towards a designated parcel as public use and further protecting the historic asset on the site. Our strategic goals and plans does note that the town, with goal 1, the develop transportation infrastructure to improve quality of life and maintain small town feel, is to complete, expand, and maintain the town streetscape. So a project such as this with additional residential units, the second version that you proposed where the townhouses would be on the front side facing Washington, it's very important that the streetscape and the small town feel remain close to the town and be depicted in the choice of architectural and aesthetic decisions. So as a final run through, additionally, the town is requesting that the GDP be labeled clear. The GDP have clarification for curb and gutter along Blythe Drive. The GDP had unclear labeling. And the town is requesting a waiver filed by Greystone for parking and and then a demolition permit to remove back into the schoolhouse. Hmm. And then finally, the town requested the GDP should include proposed total lot coverage according to the town zoning ordinance. So a lot of what we have discussed in the staff review does connect back to what we just heard from our residents. And we would like to make it known that any issues that we have discussed today, we do intend to hopefully see them reflected in additional submissions from our developer. Katie, do you have any additional comments?
I don't. Excuse me. Lydia covered most of what we have discussed. My comments focus mostly on the traffic impacts, the traffic impact analysis, parking, buffering, and environmental impacts of the development.
So with that, Chair, that summarizes where staff stands right now with our review. We will also be taking into consideration all of the comments that we heard this evening. So I would like that we ask the applicant to come up. I think our biggest conversation piece we should start with is traffic.
Yes, and I would concur, given how a lot was discussed. Many different aspects of it, of course. So please.
I just, we can't really comment on the staff report. We've not yet seen it. So we will, once we get it, we can review it and provide comment on it. With regard to traffic, we'll need to review some of the comments about what some of the proposed improvements. One of the things is, some of the things that were brought up were the concern about parking. All these units will have 2-car garages. If you look at the traffic study and the parking analysis, there's over coverage for residential. There will be no parking on Blight Drive. There was a question about Blight Drive and, if there's any plan to be able to use any of that. I believe we were going to do, just as a comment about, on Blight being the curb and gutter. I think it will be curb and gutter, and we'll add that to so that there's more detail on it, so it's clear. And we had already been looking at and trying to figure out a right and a left turnout of Blight. So those are things that we've been working on and trying to figure out how it'll fit and just, how it would tie into the development.
Siobhan, can I ask, since we're on Boyd Drive, I would like to ask a clarifying question, it might be for John. Is parking allowed currently on the west side of Boyd Drive?
I believe so. So it really will be up to VDOT as to whether that can continue. We're currently proposing curb and gutter along the existing edge of pavement on the applicant side of the street. So that would create I believe, a 27-foot pavement section, which can possibly allow parking on one side, but it's tight. But it really will come down to whether VDOT would even allow that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I'd like to give you more comments on the traffic, but I think we need to be a little bit more educated and have reviewed it a little bit more before we can provide any other comments on it.
When you guys look into traffic, will you be sure to check that the St. Paul Drive intersection is considered or was considered? That was a very valid point that was brought up by citizens, that neighborhood is quite massive and it actually stretches across the county and town lines. And so quite often you will have residents who will travel through the neighborhood to go west and come out at St. Paul.
And my recollection, we'll check, but
Thank
my
you.
recollection was we'd asked them to do that study.
Okay.
Both directions, to the circle and just in both directions to make sure that, because we figured since a lot of people talked about Green Hill Crossing, that people would, sorry? That a lot of people.
Oh, we got a echo,
Loop
sorry.
Here.
No, I think it was through our members who are on Zoom.
Yeah.
We're good now. Yeah, you're good.
So, we had heard a lot of feedback about Green Hill Crossing and the impact. And I know that because of that, we asked them to go look at, are people going different directions? I just have to validate that they did that study with counts and everything else.
Okay.
I also know that some of the discussion was about how difficult it is to make a left out of Green Hill Crossing, and that this will only make it worse, which, the traffic study shows that it will get a little bit worse. I think if we really look at the degree that it's worse, it's probably different than people might believe. And one of the things that was noted was from a safety standpoint and from a time standpoint, it would be almost the same time. I mean, if you had a light there or any other thing, or if people are waiting, the recommendation from the traffic study was, if it's unsafe for you to go left, go right, go around the traffic circle, and that was the safest route. And it was a short route, meaning it was from a time standpoint. I'm not suggesting that's the way to do it, but that's at least what they had mentioned was from a time standpoint. That's what they saw happening in their counts, was that happening.
And I would say from a town perspective that we would want to encourage you guys as the applicants to look at not putting off a traffic problem onto the county's infrastructure and the infrastructure that other neighborhood put in, but how can we creatively mitigate the new increase in volume through that intersection? And considering also the safety of pedestrian crossings there, that has been another issue that our citizens raise often. They enjoy walking to those restaurants and those establishments, and also a lot of those businesses support after-school activities for children. And so I think it's of high importance that it's considered, is there an opportunity to have some type of safe crossing along that intersection there?
Gotcha.
Mhm. Yes, so commission, please feel free to ask questions, and also two of our members are on
Mr. Baker
Zoom.
has raised his hand for a question,
So-
so go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Baker.
Justin? I'll text him. Justin, you're muted. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not quite clear on
We
that.
could-
I don't believe they extend it.
I think that should be considered in what they're looking at as the future conditions, since it's approved and going to construction by the county already, that should be accounted for in the future conditions.
Gotcha. In the traffic study, making sure that those counts, whatever happens there. Gotcha.
Yes, and that would be in the background development because you have your existing traffic, which doesn't account for it, it's not opened yet,
Right.
but it would be future traffic to be considered.
Gotcha.
So I would agree.
I just want to add in addition to that, that referencing the existing intersections that were taken into account on the TIA, that does not include the St. Paul Drive in the Green Hill.
Okay.
It does include two intersections that are actually within the county on the other side, one of which is for Robinson Manor and the other of which is for the official commercial building that is next to the QBE property.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
And I guess I also, on the traffic piece, while we're on it, again, we're in this, it is a downzoning, as we say, less overall traffic. But the key thing I think to recall is the distribution. With more residences, people will be leaving in the morning, therefore causing potential issues on Blight Drive and those kind of places, and even Green Hill Crossing as well. So again, creative mitigations or solution to that piece, as well as, as we heard from residents. And this, of course, you look at, the overall town piece, that kind of crosswalk. I can attest, I mean, in the past number of years, it has become a bit more difficult to easily cross and walk around on Washington Street. So anything that can be done to sort of, mitigate or offset a potential impact there as well. And again, as we said before, the kind of multimodal aspect. I mean, you've talked about extending the the crosswalk or the brick sidewalk improvements, extending that, and as well as the bike lane. I would just want to echo those things for other multimodal concerns as well. But those would be some of the big pieces to consider on that front.
Are there any other comments or concerns from the commission? Anything you guys want to discuss tonight?
I don't have anything else for tonight.
Justin, do you have anything else you want to ask the applicant? Justin, is there anything else you want to ask the applicant?
I can speak to it now if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
So with both groups, what's hard to predict, well, with cookies and cream, it's easier because there's already some space there that we know of. What we don't control is the building, right? We don't control it at this point. But we are working closely with Connor and Sean. And, we believe without question that we'll be able to do something cookies and cream. We'd like to do a little bit more to have more seating area. And we've already shared with Carmen that, we're going to cover the costs of the move. And we're going to do it in a way in which they're not closed, so that they are open in one location, they build out the other location, and they're able to open up the other location without having without having downtime.
So just to clarify, there's a 2,200 square foot kitchen space in the existing building that's vacant. So that's an ideal place, and that Carmen can use that kitchen, and we're hoping to also take some of the adjacent space from QBE to allow for some seating, inside seating that he spoke of with Ghosted Concepts.
And I'm going to add one small layer to that. For those who have been in the community for a long time would also know that Carmen got his Ghosted Concepts start in Haymarket out of that shared kitchen space. So it is one that he has worked from before, and it could be a great future opportunity. It sounds like with what is being proposed.
And he still has full access to it from him touring me through it. So, as I mentioned, the commercial is very important to us. We will keep it. What I didn't mention was, since I was 15 years old, my parents have always owned their own businesses. So, I've owned my own business since I was 27. So, I completely understand small business. We'll do everything we can to support them and to help them. And I firmly believe small business is the backbone of the country, not just the town of Haymarket. And then for Italia Dance Studio, we've met with them, talked to them, and let them know. What we can't promise is that we can find space. I do believe QBE has excess space, and that it's just a matter of getting down the road further and being able to figure out how we can utilize some of that excess space, repurpose it. She's indicated that Peter and his wife have indicated that, they need light. So they can't be interior to the building where there's not a lot of, she said she is alive and has to have light. So,
Windows.
yeah, windows. So she needs, lot of windows. And so that's what we're working on. And we've spoken to Sean and Connor about it, and they feel comfortable that we can work something out on it. And again, they had mentioned the cost of what they've put into it. I know in their lease, they get paid out if they had to leave. And we would, if they had to leave and move to another space, we're going to pay for, it is a very unique floor that they have, and it's actually custom made for them. So, all that would end up being something we would cover to help them move. We're not expecting people to be paying for our stuff.
And just to reiterate, we know the businesses that are there are the heart and soul of this commercial piece. And we've owned and developed and commercial retail centers. And we know that the strength of the tenants is the strength of the property, and that they're the most important thing to the commercial piece. And we're going to do everything we can to support their businesses.
Including helping them get more signage.
I would like clarification on one last piece. You guys mentioned in your original presentation that you were going to have a pedestrian walkthrough almost from one side of the parking lot to the other. Can you provide any other details about what that would look like?
We have spoken with Travai about, I want to make sure I'm not getting the wrong space.
First, there's a space on the back side of the building where there's a garage door, and it goes into a bay. And so that it's a really narrow part of the building where one of the additions was made. And that would be where the pass-through could potentially be, but we would have to rearrange some of Travai's space to do that.
Which we've already spoken to them about, and they were open to it.
Okay.
It was proposed by some very smart person on your own staff.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioners, are there any other questions?
Well, I still have a couple of things here, like I said, to talk through, and I'm glad our staff brought up about that kind of walkthrough piece. That's a very interesting aspect. I think I'll just go down some of the pieces that were discussed, and this may be a question for our town engineer about the historic property, meaning the Lewis building, if it's moved or not moved. I mean, we lost the other Lewis home, earlier in the town because, again, of kind of stability and things like that. So would you be able to speak to what it's like to either keep it there or to move it? Is there any kind of insight from an engineering perspective you might have onto that front?
We've discussed requesting or requiring during site plan a condition assessment of the building and a geotechnical investigation that takes into account how the foundation is, if there's been any settlement that could impact the movement of the building. So it's kind of ongoing in discussion. We don't have any information currently based on the status of the structure.
If I can add, I think once plan version 2 was developed, if the town's in favor of that plan, we're happy to submit that plan. We believe it actually lays out better. We don't want to move it either. I mean, we've got apprehensions about moving it. When we were asked during the process, what's your plan if it falls apart? We didn't really have an answer. So yeah, all we could do is just try to rebuild it as best we could.
Recreate
But the reality is, it is not in the best shape. It's been moved once, and it's already, 70 years old?
It's circa 1926.
Okay, well, a little bit more, a little bit more. So is it really 100 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. So, wow. So 100 years old. So yeah, it's likely, not good for it to move. So, I think once we came up with that layout, we feel that's a better layout. We feel like it's better also because of the green space being interior to the property, so that for the community, it's much more central and it's a little bit safer. Before, we've been talking about putting up this will sound bad, but it's not bad, was like a low fencing out in that front area to protect little kids from running out onto Blight or Washington. But this way, they're kind of in the interior. They're not really on any side with any real road access. So, we prefer that one. And if the town gives us the go ahead, we would just submit that one as a substitute plan and drop the first one.
Yes, and actually on that note too, I was thinking of the two different layouts, and again, seeing the townhome communities you have in town. And again, what you run into sometimes is the driveways are fronting in the alleys, and it becomes, people are driving in and out. They might not see kids walking through or walking around the neighborhood. That is one caveat or perhaps concern with this alternative layout. You're right. It's centrally located, a green space, but unfortunately, compared to the other plan, you may have to go in front of the driveways in the alleyway. I think Street B it is. And I know you're trying with the sidewalk network internally on the site to sort of guide pedestrians and those to not have to, to go straight to the community center and the green space back there, as opposed to going through the alleyway. But that would be a potential concern. I'd have to think a little more on that one. But I know that's what I've seen in other of these townhome communities in the town. The driveways are right there.
Can the applicant take into consideration in the next review discussion internally, if it's necessary to add a sidewalk on the houses 35 through 40 and 31 through 34?
On that plan?
On the alternative
Okay.
plan, if there's a sidewalk that maybe runs along just that east side of Street B so that it gave a safer pedestrian access to that open space?
Can you give me those numbers again?
Yes, so it's the block or the stick that is 40 to 35 and then 31 to 34. So the two sticks there, that would be to the north and south of that common green space. It would just give an additional pedestrian access point. I do see that you have that sidewalk on the front of the property or front of those houses near the community center, but maybe just consideration if there could be one on the rear.
And that would be, again, planned south of Street B, right? Planned south.
Yes, and I'm looking at packet page. Sorry, it cuts off.
Yeah.
It's plan sheet 4A.
Yeah, plan sheet 4A. I do think, just real quick while we're on this page sheet here, having further discussion at our next meeting regarding the setbacks and ensuring that all setbacks are met, and then discussing the buffers that are being placed, especially in relation to some of the comments we heard tonight. We did hear that there's some question on what the buffering would look like along the easternmost property line that's shared with Robinson Manor. That's been an ongoing concern and point of contention for property owners back there for the last couple of years, just on how the property is currently maintained and kept. Also, I know it might sound a little bit into the minutia, but having a discussion on what the dumpsters are going to look like and how they're going to be upkept. That is an area of concern that our residents and surrounding residents have brought up before. And I think anybody who would drive the property understands that it's a valid concern.
On that note too, I think, the buffering along the property line there, that's something to consider. And I also realized an earlier question with that walk through the building. I mean, you have the loading space right there. I don't know if that may be a conflict with loading or freight drop off, having the walk through there, just to, again, to think about it, the placement of the loading space.
If you look to the right of what is currently loading, there's a dark pavement. Can you see that? I don't know what you're looking at, but if on the, the
illustrative?
color one, you can see it. On the
Yes,
color
on the
one,
illustrative, yes.
there's a dark pavement to the right of the current loading, which is going to become loading. It's currently now parking, and it'll be replaced with loading.
Right.
So that loading wouldn't be where it currently is.
Okay, and again, and I do appreciate if trying to improve the loading kind of space and location demarcation, of course. Again, just to take into consideration, even with the improved next to the kind of walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I think continuing on that, unless of course, if other commissioners, if you have anything, anytime, feel free. Otherwise, still have a couple of things. Related to the kind of the on-site amenities, the other issue that, you might be seeing in town is you have a nice town and community, but there's no amenities on site. It's a pitiful little, sometimes maybe it's just a slide or a swing or something like that. So whatever you could consider with potentially the on-site amenities, especially for, perhaps for children or for others, to give something more than just a simple, almost an afterthought. As you've considered these other aspects, to consider that point as well, to see what you can do with good, strong amenities, especially for a small town like we have here. And I also want to echo the impact on the town park being close by as well. That's certainly, I do want to echo what the town staff has said here. And then I also know I've heard concerns about the density level. I know it's 58 right now, it's proposed. And again, I've heard from others, if that number could be lowered somewhat. I know it's within the range. If approved, that would be the rezoning and that would be the highest density there. But I know there has been some concern that even that level, it might be a bit high. So if it's possible to reduce the number of units, that may help mitigate some of these issues, just to consider it, of course.
With that comment, the town is also requesting statements regarding intended architectural elevations. I know you guys did mention previously that you're looking to do three levels, that is. But we would like consideration for different conceptual housing styles for the town to review as well, if those story levels don't come to fruition.
Are we talking about during architectural review, or when do you mean?
In consideration of the chair's comment regarding the higher density level, just taking into consideration if there's an option for a different style of housing, such as villas or something that's a 2-story with a little bit of a bigger footprint that assists in that density concern.
Yes, and I would echo that as well. Again, more details. And I think going along again, and as you're reading the staff report, some of their comments there from town staff, I think the other big thing I noted when reviewing the GDP, reviewing the shared parking analysis, the TIA, there seems to be a lot of inconsistencies, maybe in terms of number of parking or even how the VPD is labeled. Things of that nature. Just in the next submission, just make sure you can address those, that the application package can be consistent across all materials. That way we can make a well-educated guess of, or not a well-educated guess, but a chance to review proper and make sure we're all looking at the same thing. I know there were pieces of, again, even the traffic items that may have indicated something that wasn't listed in the other pieces, the other materials in the applications. And I would also be curious for the traffic applicant in particular, their kind of routing or their what percentage they gave to kind of each entrance in the TIA with routing the traffic, just to have an understanding of that information. But mainly, I think of cleaning up those inconsistencies should should provide a stronger application to review and for us to make a proper decision. And while also echoing what the town staff mentioned about schools and school impact, the impact there to be considered and looked at more closely, I believe that's all that I have at this time. So again, I'm very appreciative of you all coming out here tonight and talking and being here. I'm appreciative of the resident citizens also speaking here today as well to speak to these matters. And hopefully we can come together and think of the best product for us to make a decision on for that front. And I don't know if my fellow commissioners or anyone else had anything more, or staff from anyone.
The only follow-up comment I have is certainly we can have a follow-up meeting after this and review comments and discussion points. Our notes are completely in the report and agenda that went out, and so you'll find them summarized on the page 16 of the packet, but we're happy to meet and discuss further. For the sake of the community, I just want to make a note that our next scheduled meeting for the Planning Commission will be on February 10th. And so since no decision is being discussed tonight, the Planning Commission, the steps taken will be that they will table this and it will come back up on February 10th. And that meeting will be at 7 p.m. back here at Town Hall.
Okay, thank you. And one last thing came to my mind. It's what I've already spoke on in terms of inconsistencies. I think in the GDP, it might be referenced in the old zoning ordinance. So just checking those references as well.
Okay.
That should be easy enough there. So thank you. Okay, and I think with that, we can proceed on to, again, we're still on item 7 of the agenda items. This is now sub 2, the Planning Commission comments on the strategic plan.
Would you be open to a brief 5-minute recess and then we come back to this?
Yes. Our meeting now, as we left off, again, we're on agenda item 7, number 2, Planning Commission comments on the strategic plan. So Emily, if you could provide us some background, please.
Yes, so I just wanted to give a little background here. The town council worked in 2023. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think when we really started on this. 2024, thank you. So we were working in 2024 on the strategic plan and adopting a strategic plan. Council ultimately adopted it in the very early beginning of 2025. We spent 1 year with it, and then this past fall, we had a follow-up work session retreat style meeting with the town council. We went through what we were able to accomplish this past year, what may have changed some, or what we needed to further clarify. And so I brought the draft strategic plan to the commission at a past meeting and asked that if anybody had any comments or anything that you would like to weigh in on behalf of the Planning Commission, to please feel free to give us those comments. We will be taking them back to the town council and they'll take it into consideration for their review. So happy to take any comments or discussions, questions that the commissioners might have at this time. You can also feel free to give further comments at the town council meeting. We're going to be having a special citizens time during our work session this coming Monday, hopefully if it doesn't snow. But if it does, we'll reschedule that. And it'll be a citizens time specifically for comment on the strategic plan. It also went out, just kind of a service announcement. It did go out in our newsletter through the town, so all of our residents should have received it in hard copy. So let me know if you have any comments or questions. He's good.
All right, Mr. Baker's good. And again, so it was mailed out to the town, is that right? Like
Yes, that's correct. It went out in our newsletter end of last week. So hopefully everybody's getting them. It could be they're getting them today in their mailbox. So definitely check your mail if you haven't gotten it yet. Make sure you didn't throw it away.
That's right. No, that's good. And again, Monday, January 26th, the work session, just to.
Yes. And
have that date.
again, just in case we get a big snowstorm like they're predicting, that will be rescheduled. We will make sure we still have a time for public comment.
Okay. Any commissioners at this time? I have a couple of things, of course, unless there are others here. So, and I'll probably just start at the back, I guess. A couple things. Clarification on that response average. Was that the council survey? Was that distributed to the town? And this, of course, is the top 10 priorities. The town council is set by the council survey. It's on the back of the strategic plan.
Give me 1 second to pull up that document that you're looking at.
Sure. And
That's that priority document.
yes, and I think, again, in our last meeting from December, I believe it was part of the packet. That's what I'm looking at here.
Yes. So
If anyone wants to follow along elsewhere.
this survey is unique in the sense that the lower the number, the higher the score. So this is the average response for all 7 council members. So this is the town council's response.
Oh, okay.
And so amongst the 7 of them, this is their average. And then this is how we ranked those top 10 priorities.
Okay, thank you. And again, if anyone's following along, this is the December 9th, 2025 meeting, the agenda packet. Again, that planning commission meeting there, and if it's the very last page of the packet is where I'm starting. Again, if anyone wishes to follow along. And I think just my, and again, I just have a couple of comments on the overall document related to the priorities. So I understand with town hall piece, I understand with, town park plan. And then I see number 3, which is my favorite one, probably would be my highest one, is to update the town's comprehensive plan, right? Going back to from 2008 to get that really fully done with, community engagement, seeing what the needs of the town are from the residents and things like that. I understand these other pieces are important, but for me, wherever it is about and I'm glad to see it at number 3. I mean, that's pretty good. It's top 3, because that's certainly my biggest one there. So that's what I will continue to push for. And then, again, kind of working my way backwards from that last page, against the very final packet page. So from the December meeting, I think the other, and I appreciate, again, these updates of what's occurred, what's happened since the last strategic plan, of course. But I'm going up to, again, to item number, or I guess the goals and strategies number 6. I had noted a 6.3 for the town to design and install a love sign. And my thoughts on that one was just saying that, that's what a lot of towns have done around here. It seems pretty commonplace. I don't know if we necessarily need to add that aspect as well. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn on that front. I just think there's a lot of good, historical or even memorial type things in this town, especially when you consider the people who've been in this town for a number of years. I think something like that may be more appropriate than the generic love sign, but that's just my thoughts on it. With what we have kind of, if we're thinking of it like in a placemaking sense of what's unique to the town, that's where my mindset is coming from with that one. So that was just a thought there. And I don't know if you had any thought on that one. I wasn't sure.
I think the only thought on that one, it got added into the strategies portion of this goal because of a conversation that happened at the council level. We have an artist who's very interested in designing and painting a love sign that's unique to the town and celebrates the history of the town. Megan came and presented her design concept. And so each letter of love would represent a different season in Haymarket, and then she would paint on it all of our historic structures and then the unique features of the town. And so it was a way to incorporate all of us into the love sign, something that we were hoping to continue to work towards better tourism numbers, bringing people into town, having something to kind of celebrate year round. So that came out of a council discussion. We wanted to proceed forward with it in the fall and have it make its grand appearance at Haymarket Day. But due to some concern regarding our signage ordinance and what we currently have passed, the council has looked to add it as a strategy that we work towards, but we need to modify our sign ordinance first and ensure that murals and signage of this nature is adequately addressed and regulated in our ordinance prior.
Okay, and that makes sense there, and thank you for some of that background. I apologize, I hadn't
No, it's
considered that aspect of it, of course, but I think in addition to the buildings, I mean, some of the people, especially when you consider, the people whom we may have lost or lived here in the town, from years past. And in recent years, you kind of had that, and that's very unique to, I think, what the town is. The historic structures, yes, but also maybe somewhere to incorporate some of these folks who've lived here in the past. I think that's what kind of makes it stands out, kind of really that local history, and there's plenty of it in this town here. Let's see here. I think the other piece was on strategy or goal and strategy number 2. And again, you'll see 2.3, that's where the comprehensive plan falls. And I appreciate the 2.1, of course, the volunteer, it's this internship with an asset inventory, kind of that's the start of kind of existing conditions. I think that does go together with the comprehensive plan. But I would move 2.3 in front of the capital improvement plan, because again, I think once you have the kind of comprehensive plan there in order, then you could proceed with appropriately doing the capital improvements plans therein.
And one item to know, the reason we have come up with our priority list is because these strategies are not necessarily in a numerical order of what needs to be accomplished first. So yes, staff and council very much agrees that the town's comprehensive plan is of the utmost importance and takes highest priority. I will speak just for a moment to 2.1 and 2.2. We are actively in the process of designing and creating our asset inventory. So that's a program that's going to go live probably in the next 30 days and will be accomplished. One of the things that we purchased with that software is a capital improvement planner that allows for us to make the appropriate budgetary plans for our capital improvements. So both of those are going to go hand in hand and be accomplished in a pretty quick nature. So yes, we are absolutely prioritizing the town's comprehensive plan. I will make note back to the town council that they may consider within each goal if they should renumber some of these so that what they voted on being their top 10 priorities come up as the first item in those sections.
Thank you, and thank you for that update as well. That helpful in the explanation. I think the only comment I had for the golden strategies number 1 relating to, and I know it's just looking at the feasibility, but 1.3, the municipal parking lot. And I know we used to have that at Crossroads before. Of course, Crossroads was developed how it currently is today. But I'm just curious about that one. That's
So this has been an interesting discussion, and I can tell you the last almost 9 years of it, because that's where my history of it starts and stops. In some seasons, it feels like we need a municipal parking lot because we don't have enough parking at the downtown, and we need to be able to offer an opportunity for people to park and then walk to some of these smaller retail shops or personal service style businesses. In other seasons, we have adequate parking and it doesn't seem to be an issue. Our current biggest issue is going to be on a farmer's market Sunday. And so during farmer's market season, we see a huge influx of vehicles coming onto site to participate and come from out of town to our farmer's market. So it's a big economic drive. We like that. But on the flip side, as town staff, we've been able to partner with some of our local businesses and property owners who are closed on Sundays, and we're able to provide an offset parking. It's just a matter of, do they park there, right? So you can, put the signs up, but you can't lead them and make them park there. So we're working on that for this year. So all of that kind of triggered conversations with council of, we need to look at a municipal parking lot and determine if it is needed and if it is feasible. And if it is feasible, how do we go about identifying where it should be put, how we're going to pay for it, and then if it's going to be paid parking or free parking, and how are we going to handle that? So this goal strategy here is very much the determine if we need it. Our most recent discussion when we went through this work session retreat style meeting was, if we're redeveloping our town center here, we're adding a few more parking spaces, not many, but we're adding a few more. Most days we have ample parking in our parking lot that if you're coming in during a week, you can always park here and go off-site. We do not restrict parking here on this site during the day. We've never needed to. And then on the weekends, our lot sits pretty much empty all weekend. And so again, we do not restrict parking here except for on a Sunday when farmers market season's in session. Secondly, we're going into the design phase of our town park. We're supposed to be a walkable town. We're not that far from the park. And so there was some discussion of, if we have a town park with an ample parking space designed, would that also be able to act as a municipal parking lot to help offset some of that need? So again, this is very much determine if it's needed, and then if it is, how is it feasible? So we're not going out and purchasing land just yet. We're trying to determine the need.
Thank you.
I brought this up before, but is there any discussion in this under this goal 1 about any type of community center? As I've mentioned before, there's stuff in the county that was built a few years ago for new soccer fields, stuff like that, but there's not a single indoor facility that can be rented out for people, families come together to have events, or a place with basketball courts, or there's 0 indoor facilities here.
So as it stands today, there is nothing in here strategy-wise to explicitly state the desire to build out a community center. What I would say, though, is that our community planning commission, everybody should come in and have input during our park design phase. We are going to be looking at our master plan that was previously approved for the park and then working to reaffirm elements of it. And so that is going to be the best opportunity to start having those conversations of what the community wants to see and then how we go about designing it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and I will take that comment back. Kim and I will make sure we get good notes on this and we provide a summary to give back to the town council next week.
Yes, and echoing as Commissioner Young has mentioned, I know I've heard from others too, that kind of community space, or I've heard things thrown around at Children's Museum or different things like that could be considered. And again, I think that may be more fulfilled in a comprehensive plan kind of visioning aspect as opposed to master plan. But I think it does speak to the top 3 we have on that last page there about town hall, about the town park plan leading into the comprehensive plan, those kind of things. But certainly those kind of aspects. And with the town museum, or of course there's art gallery at times, and other kind of aspects of community event or indoor space, especially when it's winter. So this is, I know I've heard that throughout that we have a lot of great amenities here, but that's kind of always been kind of a question of that aspect. So thank you, Commissioner Young, for bringing that up. And I think the last thing I have, and I know I started with the goals and strategies in the back, and now I'm working my way back up. You probably want to start with the mission statement, obviously, and the vision and values. But in any case, the other question I just had when I think of some of those, and I've again heard from others, the listed values. I think one of the questions we have was kind of towards the word inclusive and what that, maybe defining that word further. What exactly inclusivity are we discussing about how it relates? So just. And I get these are just, the one word values and all those thought processes there, but it seems the one word was inclusive, seemed a little vague compared to the others. And I know there is some intentionality of that with values it's to be able to think in different manners on that front, but just that aspect of that word, maybe defining it further or thinking about that front. But that's, those are the only comments, I had on this front here. I think everything else it seems pretty in good shape from what I can tell. And again, I'll defer to any of my fellow commissioners if there's any other commentary, but that's all I had. And hearing none, I think we can proceed now within the agenda. We are now at agenda item 8, old business. Emily, please.
It's been a busy month. So what we're going to do is we went through the kind of bigger land use development PowerPoint and recap at one of our fall meetings. And so I am going to work with Lydia so that that's something that we provide on a more routine basis to the Planning Commission. I think that helps everybody track. Lydia and I also have been discussing some better management practices for how to keep you guys informed on what happens after you give approval on a site plan. So you'll see some changes in the reporting style. Mainly, we're still working with Chick-fil-A, wrapping up the final little items they needed so that we could give that approval. We're probably expecting that to come in end of this week, early next for that final check off from our town engineer and from Lydia. And then we'll go forward with the signature on those plans. Then they'll be working on the bonding of it and then ultimately the construction. I'll turn it over to you. You can give updates on CVC and hotel and retail, kind of where they stand. You want me to do it? It's okay.
I was trying to
We're still working on the handoff of the meetings. Long-term, Lydia is going to be leading your meetings. So Crossroads Village Center, they're working on finalizing all of their requirements for bond release. We have a little bit of issue with the stockpile that's been there on site and how that's going to be long-term managed, and that they did not include it originally in permitting documents. So that feedback has been given to them. They're working on making those adjustments and then will be coming back to us. They also have had someone purchase the parcels that would house the hotel and a small retail pad in front of Kitty Academy. We are working through those. We have requested a meeting with the applicants just so that we can have a sit down. They put in another preliminary application, and so they already had one approved. We're trying to figure out what is the long-term game plan for the construction of those two facilities. So we're going to be meeting with them on site. Lydia's working through several zoning violations that are here in town. We do have one that is active. We have a few more days left on that window that we gave them for remedy. So we'll be taking the appropriate steps on that. We will be addressing another one over in the industrial area that has come to our attention through a neighboring property owner, as well as our routine business checks by our police department. We're working with making contact with the owners first to have that friendly conversation. Otherwise, we're closing out a lot of our projects. A lot of them are in that as-built phase and checking off that everything was built in accordance with plans. So that's kind of the old business. There's one that teeters into old and new business, and that's the Carter School development that would go beside VCA Healthy Paws and in front of Robinson Village. So originally they had proposed a daycare facility, and they're working on that site plan. They are going to follow through with finishing up that site plan, but they will be coming in for an amendment and then applying for a special use permit to operate a long-term care facility on that site, and not construct it as daycare, but instead construct it as a long-term care facility. So reasoning behind going through with that plan is because we've gotten it so far with DEQ and the other outside agencies that going through and finishing up that process and then applying for an amendment is an easier track than starting all over from the very beginning. So we're going to continue working with them on that. Otherwise, that's about everything for old business, unless you have any specific questions.
I will add that myself and Katie, the town engineer, did recently visit Kitty Academy for a follow-up on site there. The next steps for them would to be review with Prince William County for interior inspections, following an approval letter from myself and Emily. That's the only old business for the Crossroads I had.
Any questions?
Actually, I'm trying to recall if near the industrial areas, is that where we discussed the at-grade railroad crossing on the property, or was that I believe we discussed that previously. I don't know if there's any, that may have been part of something else. I'm not.
That's
I can't
part of
quite
a
remember.
different site plan. This violation is a couple properties east.
Okay, okay.
The property neighbors a residential zone, and so especially in the winter when leaves fall off trees, you see a lot more. So we're working through that issue back there.
Okay, and what other, I'm just curious, if we can speak on, I don't know if we can or not, about the zoning violations, like, is there stuff related to blight or anything on that regard? Again, maybe, I don't know if, I believe we can speak on this now, but correct me if we can't.
Hold on, before I mention it, am I good? Okay.
We can talk offline about it.
Sure, okay, I was just curious.
And I can pretty quickly summarize. So one active violation case is regarding essentially a blighted structure with accumulation of trash, overgrowth of weeds, and other outdoor storage that's not permitted in the residential zoning district. And then the other case that we are looking, again, to have that friendly conversation to start out with is an expansion of the business use that was not properly permitted, and then outdoor storage.
Okay, thank you again for those just highlights of that front end. So I'm
Yeah,
glad to have our town
absolutely.
attorney here, just in case. I don't want to push anything crazy. It got me thinking a little bit. So thank you for that. And I think unless any other commissioners have anything to add, we can turn to new business now. Emily?
Okay, so new business, I mean, you saw it tonight with the rezoning application. So this has been the biggest project that we've been working on pretty much since September timeframe, when it really came in for the full complete submission. We will be making a follow-up meeting with the applicant and their team so that we can go through the comments this evening, as well as the citizen comments. I'll work with Kim and Lydia to ensure that in the minutes, of course, all comments are appropriately documented, but for the sake of the application, we'll try to get a summary of what those key points were to include in our staff report when we go forward. Otherwise, new business is
I have two updates that I can provide for long-term projects as of right now. One of which is for business owners and citizens in the area, just creating almost document cheat sheet for how residents and business owners can go about getting zoning approval, special use permit, or anything like that. Just kind of like a document that'll be posted on the website, just kind of outlining those step-by-steps so that residents and business owners have ease of access to that information. A secondary project is addressing the archive situation here for Town Hall, both in our active land use room and our archives above Copper Cricket. Kim and I will be getting together to discuss record retention and potentially getting a lot of the archives scanned in so we have digital copies of them. As you may know, there was a fire many years back in our museum that damaged some of the documents. So we will be working to kind of preserve the documents as best we can with additional measures and kind of make sure that everything is straightened out so that we can find everything for future reference.
Got it?
Thank you. And I don't know if my commissioners, anything, questions, commentary? I think those, of course, are great initiatives, I will say. I mean, cheat sheet's very helpful. And the archives is key because sometimes we want to look at some of these things. So I appreciate the work being done there.
Yes, I will admit that as my background in archaeology has taken quite a frenzy to the archive situation.
That's a good background there, of course, with the archaeology. That's very helpful. So, okay, thank you for that. I think with that, we can move, I think, to the ARB updates. And I believe, is that Kim? Or Emily, excuse me.
Me again. We had a meeting, it feels so long ago. We had a meeting back in December. We discussed a new Crumble cookie sign. They're rebranding and going from Crumble Cookie to Crumble. So we had that discussion. Ultimately, the ARB did not approve the color change that they wanted and gave them other alternative options. And so we are waiting to hear back from what the applicant has decided to do there. The upcoming meeting is proposed for tomorrow night due to no agenda items. The chair has called to cancel the meeting. And so we will not have one this month. We will have one in February. So that's all I have for ARB updates. Are there questions? Okay. I can also do town council updates.
Yes, I know Councilmember Baker's been sitting very diligently there. I don't know if you want to add.
I'll take care
Well,
of
in that
it.
case, yeah, we'll pass it on
We'll
there.
give We'll
Is it
give
for yes, on
Mr.
Timberley,
Baker
yes.
the night off on council updates.
That's quite all right, quite all right. We appreciate it. Thank you again, Commissioner Baker.
Yes, so the town council's last meeting was on January 5th. Big item of note there is that our park RFP closed that day at 3 p.m. We received numerous RFPs submitted, so we are actively reviewing those. Looking forward to the next steps on signing a contract with a consultant and then moving forward with the design and engineering of the park property. So that's a big milestone for the town council. This has been a long time coming, a couple year conversation. So we're very excited about that. Again, strategic plan is going to come up this coming Monday night for public input. Went out in the newsletter, is also posted on the town's website for all of our residents to see. If anybody has input, they can also email it to Kim to be shared. Additionally, we're coming up on budget season, so we are going to start those conversations very soon. It looks like as we're proposing from staff that we're going to start conversations as early as the February work session, which would be at the end of the February timeframe. So with that, council also had a discussion and gave approval to partner with a small business, Arts Van Gogh, to lease out the town museum for a 12-month rental. So we're working on finalizing that lease agreement and signing it over. This business will be renting the museum space starting February 1 for 12 months. We will continue to partner with them and do events with them. Dawn has been kind of a key part of a lot of our farmers markets and other community events that we've done recently, hosting free crafts for children. So she will be teaching different art classes, and it's all geared towards the youth. So she does a lot during the day for our homeschool communities, as well as our younger children who are not yet in grade school. And then she'll have opportunities for those who are in grade school. And then she's specifically looking to start something with the high school group so that teens in our community have a place to go if they enjoy art and want to find others who also enjoy that. So we're very excited about that. I believe it's a little tentative, but opening day for the community will be in mid-March timeframe. So she will be posting more of that very soon, and we're excited to have her. Otherwise, I would say from a council perspective, we're working to plan for the snow this coming weekend and whatever that may look like. And that's it, unless there's questions that I can take back to council.
Ready?
Yep.
Any further updates on hydrology study off Jefferson?
Not yet. For the grant portion, did we got them all the final documents?
Yes.
Last week, we answered all their final questions on documentation. Their next step is going to be coming out and doing a survey. And so they're trying to get it so they come out for a couple days and do all the surveying they need at once. And then we'll keep going and working through the next steps of that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Again, it seems like we're off to a very exciting start here in 2026 with these
Yes.
updates here. So thank you for sharing those. And let's do the business discuss. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
I guess.
A second? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. Good evening.